Round 11 of the US Chess Championship has just concluded. Fabi has a half-point lead over second place right now, Wesley So, going into this round. Wesley is in a must-win situation against Grigoriy Oparin. We're going to look at that game in this video as well, see how that went. But we're going to start with the leader, Fabi versus Aronian. At the end, I'm going to show you the ultimate standings, and then just show you a crash course of every opening the winner of this tournament played, because he played 11 different openings and ended up scoring 8 points, which is amazing. Let's get into it. We get bishop to b5, a Spanish by Aronian. We get a6, we get a Morphy variation. To the untrained eye, this looks complicated. To their trained eyes, they've studied this for tens of hundreds, if not thousands of hours. So white strikes with d4 for activity, while black's king lags behind in the center. But it is theory at the end of the day. We get bishop e7 covering the king, rook t1 hitting the knight, and a switch pawn to b5 hitting the bishop. There's many things that could be done here. The best is for white to take the knight, and can you believe you don't take the bishop here? Find black's best move. Very good. d5, you just solved theory. White plays a brilliant knight takes e5. We get a trade, black picks up the bishop, and we have an imbalance. What is the imbalance? Well, it is the bishop pair versus pawn structure. White's got development and pawn structure, black has the bishop pair. We get pawn to b3 castles, and rook takes e7. A sacrifice exchange. This might look amazing to you, but believe it or not, to them, this is still theory. Pretty gross, but that's top level chess. Pretty gross. Queen to g5, bishop takes f8. Find the move. If you think it's taking back the bishop, wrong you are. Bishop to h3, exploiting the fact that this is pinned, threatening mate in 1. Does Aronian see it? He does. Queen to f1, now you take the bishop back. We get knight to c3, takes, and up until this point, this exact position is in the database. However, we got c takes b3 in that game, and in this game we get a takes b3, move 17. We have officially a new game on our hands, and Fabi goes rook to e8, claiming the open file. You might be like, he just blundered a pawn. Why is this disgustingly not a blunder? Queen takes g2, queen takes g2, rook to e1, and it is mate. It is mate. These guys' repertoires go deep. So Aronian goes out of the pin, Fabi infiltrates with d2, and what a genius. He knew he just needed a draw, and here, if white does not play the drawing move, he loses. The only move to draw is winning the pawn, but this leads to a brilliant sacrifice. Bishop takes g2. Rook to e1. Fabi's like, I'm conserving my energy. Wesley has to win. And then maybe I'll have a tie break. And nobody saw that. So we're going to get into the game. Because nobody saw that. So we get pawn to e4. Pawn to c5. Wesley with the white pieces. Grigoriy Oparin with the black pieces. We get a Sicilian, which is very good for Wesley because his opponent decides to play the oh-so-tactical Sveshnikov. A very imbalanced Sicilian where black gets a backwards pawn, white gets an outpost. We kind of discussed it yesterday. There are many lines. It actually became so popular from Fabi and Magnus's World Championship match. Don't get forked. There are many variations here. The main two are knight to d5 and bishop takes f6. Then just know if you want to play this, you go c3, knight c2, knight e3. c3, knight c2, knight e3, and your knights are very, very good in the center of the board. But we get knight to b1, a sideline. He's like, I need to win this. I know my opponent knows his stuff, so let's get a sideline. So that's what he goes for. We get bishop takes, so we don't get the common g takes doubled f pawn, where you get the open king and the castling side, and you get two f5 expansions. Really a crazy opening. If computers did not exist, I think Magnus is like undefeated using the Sveshnikov, but now it's too theoretical. But it's such an imbalanced position that without computers would be a very beautiful opening. But sometimes we get a game. So it is move 13. We get bishop to c4, bishop to e6. This knight is dynamically claiming the outpost. You never want to take with the pawn because that would be static. You would be able to refer to what I'm saying if you watched yesterday's video. Bishop to g. By the way, thank you for the support on these like game reviews on modern chess. Right? I used to do old school chess because people didn't want to see this, but now I get to actually review these games, and people like to see it. So seriously, thank you for that, because I enjoy doing this. We get pawn to a5, solidifying the structure. Pawn c3, and here black plays the wrong move. He has to play rook to c8. So Wesley has out-theoried his opponent. His opponent takes an inaccuracy and then goes rook c8, and Wesley immediately plays the best move, b3, showing that he still understands, showing that he's still in book in this position. Did they start with an hour and a half? And they have more time on the clock? Wow. Yeah. So he's definitely in book. King to h8, prophylactic thinking. Very, very common. Let me put my phone on airplane mode so it stops buzzing. I don't know if you guys hear it, but I certainly do. So king to h8 going on the side of the board. We get knight to b5. And I mean, this is exactly what you want in a must-win situation. These knights are absolute clamps. Pawn to g6. Rook to d1. There is a storm coming. Will Oparin be able to calm it? We get bishop g4, f3. The bishop comes back. And queen to c3. What would you play after knight to d4? The best move in this position for a fighting chance of winning and a probable chance of winning is rook takes d4. A sacrifice exchange. The point is, after it's taken, you take with check. They have to go king g8. And look at this immense amount of pressure. You're going to end up having a knight and two pawns. The bishop pair is not all too happy. Your pieces are all coordinated, and they have some holes that they need to deal with. So, I don't know what Wesley didn't like about this, but he ended up taking with the knight, which is not the end of the world. I mean, granted, it's winning if takes with check, but black has the very important switch. Bishop takes d5, and now if you take, queen to b6 pins the knight. That is the problem. So you have to save the knight. They take, splitting your pawn structure. Now we get the check. Okay, Wesley is aiming in at d6. Is there going to be enough to win this position? Oparin on the defense, defending his backwards pawn, clamping down. So this bishop is not the greatest. In fact, it's kind of sucks. And rook to c6. Okay, a suspicious move. We know not to guard from the side. What did he have to play? He had to get out of the pin, apparently, but he passively guards from the side. And Wesley does not waste any time. f4, exploiting the pin. The king moves in f5, breaking through. And just like that, Wesley again is back in the driver's seat playing for the win. He plays the brilliant rook takes d6. This rook can be taken, but it is not the best, right? Because then you get forked. They might pin you, but you take a queen. They take a queen. You take a rook, and you have a pawn that's 2 away from promoting, and your knight guards. Excellent winning chances for Wesley. So Grigoriy goes queen to c5. We get an exchange, and then pawn to c5, trying to get the pawn through. A pawn is a pawn, and one guy is up that. We get bishop to e7, defending the pawn. Rook c1, rather attacking the pawn. Rook c1, defending the pawn. Queen takes e5. You had to play this so slow. Like, so slow it wanted you to play. But this move makes a lot of sense. Right? This bishop is pinned. But the reason you cannot win it if you do your chess.com tactics is because you would have back rank problems. So say queen takes. Okay, you guys know back rank checkmate. So you cannot take that bishop, safe to say. Oparin gets out of the pin, sets up a battery, and Wesley creates a luff. We get bishop to f8, and now defensive precautions have been taken. Defensive measures, rather. And this is not going to be the easiest position in the world to win. You're up a pawn, but at what cost? He takes with the queen, splitting the pawns. Wild decision, but it's just as good as the best, and very nice. Move 41 minute, finds queen to g3. Threatening mate, forcing a queen trade, understanding that the bishop can cover the fact that this pawn is isolated. It's an open board. His pawn is blockaded on a dark square, and he doesn't think Wesley will be able to win. But let's see. Wesley's not going to accept a draw because a draw for him is like a loss. It would be so crazy if Wesley played spoiler too. What's that saying? Fate loves irony. Irony loves fate. Fabi had mate in 4 against Wesley, fumbled the bag, and if Wesley ended up getting to tie breaks and then beating Fabi wouldn't sleep all too much tonight, we can say. But we get a trade into a theoretically drawn endgame. 2-2 on the king side. Rook pawn. That is not going anywhere. Wesley plays a bit longer, a few more moves, but Oparin has found his form, and it must settle for a perpetual. So now we're going to look at Fabi's openings. Actually, let's look at the standings first. Had Wesley won this, we would get 3-time US Chess Championship champion Wesley So, but instead we got 5-time US Chess Champion Fabiano Caruana to win the US Chess Championship 5 times. I know Hikaru's done it. Fischer's done it 8 times. But, I mean, Fabi is extending his prime. His prime has just begun, matter of fact. If he pulls up to the FIDE Candidates Tournament in form like this, he's got good chances. And if he wins the Candidates and plays in the World Championship, we might get Fabi for World Champion. And then to beat Fabi in a match, they're going to need to find someone pretty good at the game. But look at Fabi used to not play too many different openings, and now he's mastered, it seems, every single opening. He played a Nimzo against Grigoriy Oparin. He played the English against Woodward, where he had a losing position, sacked a queen, created a fortress. Then against Alwander Leong, he played against an Alapin. He played a Sicilian, main line. Then we got a Spanish against Sam Sevian. Against, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, to be honest, Darius Swiris. He played a Carol Khan. I know how to pronounce that opening. A Carol Khan. And he won. Beautiful opposite side castling game. The tragic Wesley So game that did not end up biting him in the end. Imagine the lead he'd have if he found the mate in 4, he would have crossed 2,800 this tournament. I think he's ending at like 2798, having picked up about 9 rating points. Had he won this, he would have crossed 2,800 too, but he will again. Then he played this doofus of an opening against this guy, Hans Niemann. I think it's the Paris variation. Won that in like 25 moves. He played the English against Ray Robson. He played the Ready one game. Against Sam Shanklin, he played an E6 Sicilian, which is all too rare. And then he had a Najdorf against Abhimanyu Mishra. The Ready was against Wesley So, yes. So, excellent job, Fabi. You didn't fumble the bag. You got some ice in your veins. And continue the run. Hope you guys enjoyed the coverage of the US Chess Championship. Send any comments of tournament games you want reviewed, like top-level tournament chess, and I'm all open for it. I don't even know where the next one is. I think I have a Vincent Keimer video idea upcoming. But, yeah, and any way to improve the format would be highly appreciated. Questions, comments, concerns? Thank you as always for watching. Have a nice day.